Hello everyone. In this video, we'll put a wrap on Book 1 of The Sun Also Rises by taking a look at Chapter 7. So early on in the chapter, we get a very frank discussion between Jake and Brett about their possible relationship. And it starts with Jake just really trying to piece this relationship together. Couldn't we live together, Brett? Couldn't we just live together? I don't think so. I just trump at you with everybody. You couldn't stand it. Um, you know, she's basically like saying, look, we can't really do this. Yeah, we love each other. It doesn't do any good to say it, but because of the way I am, we'd never get along, right? It would be terrible for you. I'd simply be cheating on you, and that would be the end of it. Um, Now this is interesting because the concierge at the beginning of the chapter, it goes on this rant, if you will, about how nice Brett is and how well bred she is. She's from a very good family, etc., etc. But then here with her actions, she really comes across as kind of harsh and sort of insensitive to Jake's pain. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, at least she's honest. I also found it interesting when Jake says to her, "Couldn't we go off in the country for a while?" And it's Brett who says, "No, no, that's not going to be any good," because it's very reminiscent of the earlier conversation between Jake and Robert Cohn when Cohn wants to travel and Cohn wants to try to leave and go to a different place, in South America in particular, right? Is sort of running away from his problems. And it's Jake who's the one who tells him, no, it's not going to be any different. But here the sort of role is reversed. Jake sort of regresses a little bit, and it's to Brett's credit that she understands that, look, this is the way they are, and we can go off in the country, but it's not going to change everything. And she even goes so far as to assume a little bit of responsibility for this predicament, telling him that, look, this is the way I am. This was the way I was made. I think it's important to notice how Hemingway characterizes, or the methods he uses to characterize the different people in the book, and particularly his use of dialogue to do that. In this case, the concierge at Jake's building and the count, really tell us a lot about Brett. Um, the concierge at the beginning says she is très gentille. She has a very good family. Is a thing you can see. The count later on goes on to say, "You got the most class of anybody I ever seen. You got it. That's all. You're always drinking, my dear." Right? And we can sort of argue about the authenticity of these characterizations and the accuracy of them. But I think it's part of our ongoing analysis. We look at what the characters say about each other, and then we juxtapose them with their actions and with their behaviors, and sort of make up our own minds as we go. So the Count is a very interesting character, and prior to him, we've seen a number of different types of characters, right? We've seen the characters are sort of in the middle, the characters who sort of see the way the world works, like Jake, but are kind of struggling at times to come to grips with it. And then we've seen sort of the ones who have no concept whatsoever, like Robert, who, doesn't think for himself, or, really has no real true understanding of the true nature of the universe. And now we have the Count, who is sort of the exact opposite of Robert. And he really, really reiterates this idea of how it's so important to really live your life and gather these experiences rather than relying on other people or institutions or books to tell you what to think and what to believe. And it becomes very clear throughout the Count's conversations with Jake and Brett that above all else, he values his experience. He says at one point, "All I want out of wines is to enjoy them," which is really a far cry from Brett, who simply drinks to to be drunk. And you can argue about the root causes of that. Is she dulling her pain? Is it a coping mechanism, etc., etc.? But for the Count, it's about the experience, right? It's about that the taste and everything else. And he later on says, "You see, Mr. Barnes, it is because I have lived very much that now I can enjoy everything so well." And really, it becomes super clear, right, that he has a clear value system that he has created, that he has established through his own experience. And what's more, he's living according to that experience. And throughout all of Hemingway's works, whether it's The Sun Also Rises or Farewell to Arms or The Old Man and the Sea, there are characters like this. These characters that are sort of these aging mentors. Remember, the Count is older than Jake and then Brett and then the others. And to use the language of our Hemingway Heroes presentation, these are the exemplars, these are the code heroes, and the Count definitely falls into that category. He also has a certain amount of credibility among Brett and Jake because of this experience. And Brett even says, "I told you he was one of us." And it's because of his shared experience, right? He tells them that he's been in 7 wars and 4 revolutions. He even has the scars and the arrow wounds to prove it. And so all three of them have these war wounds, right? Jake and the Count have these physical ones, and we learned earlier that Brett has that emotional trauma as well. So there's this sort of shared experience. There's this shared understanding, which again is in stark contrast to a character like Robert Cohn, who is not a veteran. You can see just the way they treat each other, right? The way, Jake is so much more open with the Count. He's so much more welcoming, right? He's willing to listen. He sort of uh, takes him on as this authority figure, whereas Robert Cohn he decidedly looks down upon and is just very dismissive of Robert. And so, with the introduction of the Count, we've now seen those three Hemingway heroes. Well, that about does it for book 1 and for chapter 7. Hope all is well. Talk to you soon.